Macron secures finalized security guarantees for Ukraine. No talks on foreign troop presence in Ukraine, Russia states via Lavrov. And how freeze scenario could end war in Ukraine. That is news next. European leaders are expressing growing concern that Russia is preparing a new offensive against Ukraine. They discussed this during a meeting with President Volodymyr Zelensky, who reportedly addressed security guarantees, according to Bloomberg. At the Security Council meeting in Toulon last week, German and French officials discussed the build-up of Russian troops near Pokrovsk in the Donetsk region. According to sources, Russia has deployed large forces in the area. Situation near Pokrovsk. Zelensky said on Friday that Russia had concentrated about 100,000 soldiers on the front line near the city. The Kremlin has been trying to surround and capture Pokrovsk for over a year, but without success. Capturing the city would open the way for Russia to attack Kramatorsk and Slavyansk. Moscow seeks to take control of the entire Donetsk region. Meeting in Paris and US role. A meeting of the Coalition of the Willing will be held in Paris, where it is planned to finalize discussions on security guarantees for Ukraine after the war. The leaders also intend to talk to Donald Trump. The Europeans hope to clarify the US commitments and get Washington to tighten sanctions against Russia. France wants to show that Europe has done its part, and now it is the US president's turn. Position of European leaders. French President Emmanuel Macron said in Paris together with Zelensky that Europe is ready to provide security guarantees to Kiev. The prime ministers of the Netherlands and Poland are also expected to attend the meeting, while the leaders of the UK, Italy and Germany will join via video link, despite Trump's attempts to push for an end to the war, including his meeting with Putin in Alaska. Moscow shows no sign of being ready for a truce. Although the US president has threatened sanctions, he has not yet imposed them. Disagreements in Europe. Europeans are discussing possible security guarantees for Ukraine, including the option of sending soldiers after the end of hostilities. This issue remains controversial among allies and is categorically rejected by Russia. Trump ruled out the possibility of sending American troops, but allowed for the provision of air and intelligence support. US Ambassador to NATO Matthew Whitaker noted that Ukraine must agree to the security architecture, but Russia must also be comfortable with it. NATO and negotiation process. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte said that after the completion of European consultations, it will be possible to interact more actively with the US. He stressed that clarity on guarantees is extremely important before any meetings between Putin and Zelensky. However, diplomatic efforts are stalling. Sources note that after a surge of activity in early August, negotiations have stalled while Russia is preparing for new attacks. Curse of war and losses. Russia's grueling summer offensive has not yet brought the Kremlin significant territorial gains. Moscow's troops advanced slowly, capturing 2,033 square kilometers between May and August, which is 0.3% of Ukrainians' total area. At the same time, Russia intensified its air strikes. According to the UN, July was the deadliest month for Ukrainian civilians since May 2022. 589 people were killed and 1,152 were injured. At least 25 people were killed in a strike on Kiev on August 28. Russia will not discuss ideas about the deployment of foreign troops in Ukraine in any format. This was stated by Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman Maria Zakharova, according to pro-Kremlin TASS and other Russian media. On the sidelines of the Eastern Economic Forum, Maria Zakharova gave a press briefing. As usual, she did not avoid the subject of Ukraine, commenting to the press on European plans for a possible deployment of troops as part of providing security guarantees.
Russia is not going to discuss a fundamentally unacceptable foreign intervention in Ukraine, which undermines any security. This needs to be somehow conveyed to them, the West, so that next time, when they want to reflect on this topic, they have a reminder in the form of Russia's position.
She also claimed that the security guarantees requested by Ukraine would in fact become guarantees of insecurity for the European continent. In addition, Zakharova commented on Washington's approval of a possible deal to sell missiles and other weapons to Ukraine. She argued that such a decision allegedly contradicts the White House's words about resolving the war between Russia and Ukraine. Who does Zakharova think she's lecturing the world about foreign intervention? Russia is the only foreign invader here, slaughtering Ukrainians and occupying their land. Ukraine has every right to ask for allies, troops, weapons and guarantees because it's Ukrainian survival at stake, not Russia's twisted imperial fantasies. Moscow should keep its nose out of decisions that don't belong to them. They are the problem, not the solution. The more they shout, the clearer it becomes. They are terrified of a strong, united West standing with Ukraine. US President Donald Trump has said he still wants to help Kiev and Moscow reach a peace deal and has once again announced that something is going to happen, despite uncertainty over the prospects of direct talks between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and Kremlin dictator Vladimir Putin, reported by Trump in an interview with CBS News.
Frankly, the Russia one, I thought, would have been on the easier side of the ones I've stopped, but it seems to be something that's a little bit more difficult than some of the others.
Trump added that he is closely following how Zelensky and Putin are behaving at the moment.
I've been watching it, I've been seeing it, and I've been talking about it with President Putin and President Zelensky. Something is going to happen, but they are not ready yet. But something is going to happen. We are going to get it done.
The US president stated that he will continue to push for a peace agreement despite the bloody fighting and Russian strikes on the civilian population. Trump explained that his approach to many diplomatic talks is to bring leaders together in one room and force them to strike a deal in real time, often under his guidance without dismissing any possibility until it happens. He stressed that such an approach requires patience. When asked whether he sometimes has to wait things out, Trump replied, "Well, you have to do that."
We've had some very good days, fortunately, and once I get them in a room together or get them at least speaking together, they seem to work out. We've saved millions of lives.
Freezing hostilities along the front line is one of the possible scenarios for ending the war in Ukraine. However, the final decision will be made by President Volodymyr Zelensky. This was stated by Presidential Office advisor Mikhailo Podolyak, according to his interview with Noviny Live. Podolyak was asked whether reports were true that Ukraine is ready to freeze the situation along the current front line. He responded,
"If we speak realistically, yes. One of the possible scenarios is a freeze along the front line, and the president talks about this, but I think the decision on the final scenario will be made by the president."
He added that consultations are underway at the level of the President of Ukraine and European leaders. In particular, there is a clear vision and understanding of the risks that Russia will continue to pose. Podolyak also noted that there is a good dialogue with American partners. In his view, after the events in Beijing and Tianjin, the United States will look more realistically at what is happening in the world.
There is a restructuring taking place. Who will dominate, and why allow this restructuring to reach its conclusion? If you want this restructuring not to look anti-American, you need to invest in Ukraine, to invest in ensuring the war ends in a more or less fair way. Russia must get nothing, no dividends.
That's all for today. Thanks for watching this video. Support Ukraine, like and subscribe.